Blog Talk Radio.
Hi, Paul. You there?
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
Okay, great. We always have this little bit of bumpiness because we have to wait for to get the link. The show has to be going. Live. So, welcome. Thank you so much for doing this. Short of probably pestering you with messaging you and getting in touch with you over the last couple of months, I really appreciate you coming on to do this because your videos that you've put out and talking about the energy and the orbs really resonated with me. And then I have to say, when you sent your bio to me and was talking a little bit about your life, I was really blown away by it because I was had this feeling of a kind of parallel to you. We're the same age. We share the same name pretty much. And when you described your childhood and the sense of flying and hearing the creaking steps and just all of it. So, I want to start by having you tell us all a little bit about yourself and how you ending up doing this research that you do such a great job. I can't wait to share it.
Yeah. I got a bit of feedback from the it's like so two conversations are going. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Because I can hear you talking though. Is an echo?
Sometimes with Skype you will hear a little bit of that. And if you have any, let me see, I don't think, maybe on my end I have something playing. Let me check.
Yeah, check and see if you have a tab open, Pat.
Oh yeah, I do. Here, let me click it.
Okay.
Okay, is that better?
Right. Let me.
Yeah, I hear you better now. Yeah. You know what? I clicked on the link to send it to you, and the show was playing in the background.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. If anybody on the phone has their computer going with the player playing, we'll get an echo. That's
yeah.
You can hear it as well.
All right. So prior to you, while you were trying to get connected, Paul, I introduced Jonathan, who's in the chat room, that's going to be posting links for you. And so I took care of that while you were trying, while you were getting hooked up.
Can you hear me now? Because I've still got a tremendous amount of lag on the station.
Well, you know what? You are perfectly clear to me.
Yeah, I can hear the conversation as about a few minutes later.
Oh, Cheryl's saying it's lag time, probably. You know what? I think that does happen when I have a friend from Australia, and when she has Skype in, she experiences that little bit of a delay. But we can hear you really good. Yes.
Right. Okay. So where do we start then?
Well, I say you give us a start how, yourself and how you got started doing this research. Right.
Well, it was, I'll give you a little bit of background about myself. It'll help understand the changes that occurred. And I'll probably start off with my working career, and at 17, I moved into industry, and by the age of probably late teens, early 20s, I was handling major refurbishment projects when the first reorganization of the banking system took place, and I handled projects in excess of £250,000 pounds. And I was very, very successful working for an independent in a smaller Welsh market. And at the age of 26, after I got married, I decided to go out on my own. And going out on my own, I won major contracts with the corporates. I worked on projects. There is a project in British contracting called the JCT 81, which is a design and build project, and I undertook that project for the Walt Disney Corporation as the main contractor. And in this sort of background, a lot of analytical processes, briefing, putting together, designing product. We worked on designing flight simulating cabinets for anti-control systems. So we did a lot of product design, and we took that from a fundamental brief. Now the reason why I'm mentioning this is that these are the disciplines that I brought to the science and the research. So I'm just trying to put together a picture for the listeners as to the skills and the disciplines that I had in firstly collecting data, and it doesn't matter whether it's a brief from a client, and then interpreting them. So these are perfect skills for science. I would sit in one of the Lloyd's or Barclays or in their offices, and I would watch the working the processes of the individuals and come up with design solutions for their problems within their offices and their office environments. It was probably the 90s, early 90s, I became ill, and they were probably somewhat stress-related. At least my immune system was slightly more run down than the members of staff who were working for me. A number of people who were fit and healthy when they came into the factory where we were working, and the offices that we had, just developed kidney problems and sickness. And what had happened is that the drinking water supply was contaminated by pre-manufacturing chemicals and the river tap water, which was a heavily polluted river, and this led to these near-death experiences that I experienced. And so this was a sort of I mean, I don't want to go into the gory detail, but I'll tell you how severe it was. Is that when the fecal strep E. coli, aluminium sulfate, or the aluminium, the pre-manufacturing chemicals were in the drinking supply, I would get ill. I would lose a pint of blood probably every day through my bowels. the hospital wanted to remove various different organs, and I declined it because they couldn't give me an answer as to why I was sick when it was warm. And I was rushed into hospital, and then I had that near-death, the first near-death experience. And for those 5 years, up until the point when Welsh Water, the Water Authority, told us that there was a major contamination, I was ill when the river levels were low, and they were stealing mains water and cross-contaminating it. So eventually, then I had these near-death experiences, and they're very difficult to talk about. I mean, have you had any yourself, or?
No, a near-death experience, no.
So it was.
And here's the thing, though, Paul, and I'll just make this real quick. I say no, I don't remember anything, but several months back, I had an epiphany moment of an incident that happened to me. I would have been toddler. I would have been crawling.
Yeah.
That I obviously was crawling around, got into our kitchen sink. I guess I made my way to the back, found the Drano, dumped the Drano out, had a wet diaper, and sat down in it. And it started, I guess, to, eat my leg off. Now I was only told this story, but when I've looked at myself and wondered why I, all my life, had this feeling of this being different, because I remember once I was walking and talking, I would tell people I was adopted.
Yeah.
And I wanted to talk to my mother about it, but my mother's elderly, older now. I'm kind of like, I can't bring this up and talk to her about it because I'm sure it's a memory as a mother she doesn't want to relive. I just had a big scar, on the back of my leg, and that's what I got told happened to me. Now, what all went on, I don't know.
Yeah. I think it, sometimes the mind will shatter. It's like a pane of glass, isn't it? When we get pain, it's like a stone thrown at a piece of glass, and then the image is are forgotten or suppressed or whatever. I'm not suggesting that that's your case, but I know it's in the human psyche not to remember the painful things.
Right.
So, but that's I don't know whether that makes any sense, but that's how I saw it. So, do you remember any of your past lives, or?
Well, what my experience was in the 90s, when I started, I said that exploration of who am I, what am I doing here, and started reading books. That what I experienced is what I called sleep school, that lasted for about 2 weeks, that I literally would see myself float off. I started meeting people, some, could have been male, could have been female, old, young, some not very nice people at all. But probably the third night I realized I was actually visiting myself, that person I was in a past life.
Yeah. Yeah. Shall I tell you a little? So I'll run on with why I brought that up, because obviously there was a near-death experience. But in the period from 1990 to 96, I was continually being poisoned intermittently by industrial act. And while I wouldn't call it an accident, it seemed as though it was on. It was meant to be, I think, is a better word than anything else. And what I did is I went to a number of healers, because the medical profession couldn't find it. They could find my ESR rates up. You know, as I said, the nurse actually on one of the occasions sat up all night and prayed for me. And that was one of those accounts that those near-death experiences that I had. But obviously, in the process of trying to get better, or trying to, you know, if conventional medicine sort of fails you, you look for alternatives. And I tried everything, and including regression therapy. And what that did is that opened up a doorway to many of my past lives. So I was sitting in my executive room, and I had a representative come to see me, and he changed. I knew he had a pinstripe suit on, but he actually changed in front of me into sandals and what would be the attire of first century Sardinia, and we used to trade together. And I thought it was to do with the chemicals and how the chemicals were affecting me, so I did the research on all the effect of toxins and hallucinations. And eventually I had to discount those. There was too much detail. There was too much detail in the events, particularly at 732 BC when I was in an army. We did some horrific things. I can even see now how when I was an American Indian. None of these things can be proved. So, right. Of course, I still will say that this is outside of the data that I hold, but it's an experience that I have that is mine, and I don't long for any past life or anything else, because I know that these are outside of any empirical data that anyone can produce. I mean, there were some very unusual coincidences, because we had a customer who had a printing business, and I went into his place and I recognized him as my brother in the early days of the Roman times. And I found it odd, and what I saw is the vision of the life, and I told him about it, and I told him that we used to go into battle. There were 3 brothers, and we used to go into battle with a standard, or like a banner that we carried with a horse's head dripping with blood coming off it. And so it's not, these things aren't my desire. These things that I was seeing, and you can imagine, when you're working on corporate contracts, and these these crazy things occur, and you think, well, that's rubbish or nonsense.
Right.
And the day that I closed one of the businesses down, and one of the businesses had value in it, so I gave it away. Sounds strange, but I was at that stage where I wanted to get rid of everything in a particular way. I found a man who would take it off me, and we struck a deal where I would work part-time for him and for a little bit of money. So one of the last days of, and this would be about 2000, probably 2000, or it could be earlier than that. And he had a printing embroidery company. And I said, oh, Jeff, I don't want to use his name, sorry about that. But I said, he was printing on his computerized loom a badge for a rugby club. And that badge for the rugby club was a horse's head dripping with blood. And I said to him, see that there? And I told him about him being my brother, and he's standing there and he's just gone cold. He was just stunned by it. And so that's my little bit of evidence, and I'm sure that that man would tell that story in a similar way.
Right.
Probably wouldn't believe it, but that was the near-death experiences. And so after this, I saw the accountability to yourself in the absolute truth, and that would take hours to talk about. So I don't know whether that's fitting for this conversation, because it's I tended in the early days not to even talk about any of these things, because it would undermine the good practices that I use to collect data, and how I believe that I cracked the code of how the universe truly works. And again, that sounds very egotistical, but everywhere I look, and in all the predictions that I've made, and some of those will be borne out in YouTube videos about solar minimums and stuff like that. But it was a long process, and so this 20-year process needs to be explained from the starting point. So I suppose there is the formal research, and there is the disturbance of my life, and they're two defined sections. So I'll talk about the disturbance first. I found that after these events that I would sit on the floor, and I would rock back and forth, say 5 times. I would rock to the side and left and right 10 times, rock back and forth 5 times, and it seemed to be on energy fields. I also could hear the sounds of ley lines. A lot of people are now hearing the blanket whistling. It's the high-pitched whistle now that generally people, when they get that still stage, will pick up that high-pitched frequency. And I found that I could naturally use this energy, convert it for healing, what I would call restoring broken energy fields. And that doesn't matter whether it's on the earth or in a person. This outpouring of energy creates the spirals, and these are the spirals that the ancients drew on rock art. And I've trained, as you'll notice that John is in the chat room, and it's not a good word, trained, but John can read these spirals as well. So the first stage was the interaction with the energy, And the second stage was the disciplines I brought from 20 years in business of running corporate projects. So I became fascinated, and not knowing anything about anything in terms of outside of the business world. I saw my first megalithic structures, and I started to do surveying the energetic fields that I could feel, but I used the dowsing technique with metal rods, and I think I put a video up on YouTube showing all those AutoCAD drawings, because what I would do is establish a control position. I would lay out and start mapping those control position from that control position, and eventually repeating patterns started to occur, and that can only either be expressed as a mathematical equation, or I suggest that people have a look at that video. But what happened is these intersections occurred, and these intersections met at the basis of megalithic stones. I've been posting on a megalithic forum for a number of years, and I posted up. I can find what I call the paired split stone field, and again, it's a very difficult thing for me to talk about without showing what the paired split offset stone is. And so
and if Jonathan is listening, I'll let him know in the chat room, or John, I should say. You were in a little earlier and posting up some pictures, and I know people were looking, and Jonathan can do that now.
Yeah. Look, that video is about 30 minutes long, and it breaks down all the details of the observation. It's called Dowsing the Divine Matrix and the Illuminati Fraud, or something like that. John should be able to find that on my YouTube account, but of course it's a half hour, maybe an hour long talk, because there's so much detail and data that I hold. It's not something that can be easily absorbed. You need to see the processes that. I think John has just posted that up with the paired split stone at a place called Tinkin's Wood, and so this is the start of it, and I found that in these megalithic patterns, these diamond chevrons started to occur, because you start let's say when you're doing an office block, you will start to see patterns of window lengths, pillar lengths. You're doing all sorts of things, and you're repeating certain things. And in those surveys that I was taking, certain things kept occurring. And what happened is that, I started to see ancient symbols in them, like the Star of David. The Greek Orthodox Church was from a burial mountain. It just struck me as the fields of energy that I was finding was the cross of the Greek Orthodox Church in a place called Stony Littleton, Long Barrel. And of course, when I started to look at it, I never realized that there are many, many people who know that these sacred symbols are the earth field, because so I came to it with no conditioning at all. I used to have a website called The Secrets of the Stones, and I had all these drawings on them and about the field and how the field was working, how it moved over the moon phases, and it's quite fascinating. But the net result of it was that megalithic stone structures sit on a somewhat unseen field. And how it maintains that, obviously the curiosity of my mind and my sort of probing mind led me to sort of think, well, how does this maintain after 5,000 years? Because some of these structures are maybe 5, maybe 7,000 years, and they're still maintaining their integrity. And I'm not sure that I've answered that inside myself, but I'll give you. I think the Sumerians answer it probably better than I would, which is the Anshar and Kishar effects. And I'll cover that later because it was part of the later research, and it links into the Annaunaki, Niribu, and I could talk about those for a little while. But these are later, the data takes you to one place, and then you say, well, hang on a moment, this looks so similar.
Hold on, Paul, I'm going to need you to repeat that. You just...
I dropped off, did I?
It's not just you dropped off, it just went into sounding wavy.
Right.
For a moment there. So just repeat the last of what you said there.
Well, it is simple to me now, after 20 years of research, that we have been misled by what our Sumerian, Hopi, the Parsis, ancient mythology is actually truly telling us. And they understood the heavens and the stars and the motions of the heavens, and they have a better creation model than what we have today.
Right.
There is no...
And what I want to let you know, Paul, and this is the other reason, I so wanted to bring you to the radio, and I seriously think, have you done radio shows? I know you had the one posted up I listened to
on the Webbook forum. On the Webbook forum.
Because, I think you're going to find this gets out there, you're going to find yourself in demand because you're right into where a lot of us are, where I'm taking the joy in bringing this information out, because for me, what I'm trying to do as a host here is take people back even farther.
Yeah.
Or as I say, let's go beyond the Bible. There are stories. And a lot of times you'll find out that the stories in the Bible came from those stories. And when you had put up your video and showing these megaliths and, that's where I'm, I just, it makes my skin tingle because I'm like, see, they were etching on stones to tell the story. And you, with your analytical thinking, I don't know if you've heard of Danny Wilton. If you haven't, you two should really hook up because he'd be excited about your research, and I think you'd be excited about his research, and you're similar that he isn't. His job was an analysis guy, and he was laid off. Now he's done a whole thing with the Orion Nebula and cathedrals, built when he's saying, how would they know what the Orion Nebula looked like? Yeah. But yet it's in these churches.
Obviously I haven't talked about how I collected the data and what the data was showing, but I've written about it in a book, and maybe that we can let me go back a bit, and then I'll come on to what I found astounding about the Anuna Elish, which is the thing that Zachariah Sitchin never quotes his references about. It's where Niribu is first mentioned. It's where the Anunnaki are mentioned. And I've based all my understanding on L.W. King's 1906 translation. These were translated from cuneiform. Zachariah Sitchin could not read cuneiform. They had a cuneiform slab with, I forget which other text it was, but what they were, the slabs were together, and what they did is took the cuneiform, and it was on, and the other text was on the slab at the same time. So it would be like writing in two languages, saying the same thing. And from that point, they I think it was L.W. King who started those translations of the cuneiform. So the Anuna Elish is it's their Big Bang theory. You know, I'm using that because our Big Bang theory is rubbish. And I will tell you why. You know why that is so. I'm quite happy to explain the flaws in it. So the Anuna Elish talks about the gods. We don't understand what these gods are. We've personified them into human beings, which is a folly. These are planets. This is the process of how they saw the creation. So basically, it's been I don't know whether to use the word bastardized, but the Illuminati and their sciences and their control of the New Age movement has muddied the waters for us. Right. So in the beginning of the Anuna Elish, they talk about the Tiamat. And I may lose people here because they may not understand the relationship between the orb bar wave and the Tiamat. All right, but the Tiamat is a primordial substance, and of course the Tiamat gave rise to serpents. Now, these serpents are the wave format of which the orbs are contained within. So we have and I'm sure John will be able to post that up, is a spreadsheet of our data showing how the orb converts from a wave to a bar. So what we're talking about is this primordial substance of creation. So because we understand its, I'm not suggesting I understand all of its mechanism, because we understand this primordial substance, we can say, oh, the serpent is the wave. They weren't seeing serpents in the sky, they were seeing the wave format. And out of the Tiamat came two creator serpents, which are not serpents, they are waves with orbs in them. And one of them was called the Muddy One. And again, I've put a video together of how this particle and energy process picks up charge and distributes not only cosmic particles across the universe, but also will drag gold with it. And so...
Now, wait a minute. Say that again?
Right. In in the solar system there is gold. There is iridium. There are all sorts of cosmic dust and particle.
Okay.
Right. So what I'll try and do then is explain something. I've got a little video, as I say, on YouTube, trying to explain these concepts. So you imagine a long sausage balloon now, right? And you rub it on your head. So the sausage balloon has no charge. Let me wind the clock back a little bit. The universe is made of 3% or 2.9% matter, and the rest of the universe is what they call massless particles. They don't know. This is what they're looking for in CERN.
Right.
Right. These massless particles are not solely quantum. So once these particles gain mass, and that is an electrical charge or a static charge, they then can carry matter from the universe. Of course, all matter, what it is there's very little matter in the universe. Most of it is space. Most of it is held together by charge. So the Orb bar wave, I'll talk about the wave format or the bar. So you imagine now a balloon, a long balloon, and you imagine it's transparent, so you couldn't see it. If you then rubbed it on your hair, that balloon would be charged, but you still wouldn't see it. If that balloon picked up dust, let's say it's a balloon in our atmosphere, the dust will stick to the charge. And so this is the process of how these serpents, because they wobble on magnetic fields, they cause a wave function on magnetic fields, and they will pick up. So with this charge now, if you took that balloon and passed it over a flower in your kitchen, it would pick it up and stick to the surface. You would then be able to see it.
Right.
And we are due to see the Orb bar wave and its processes because of the new energies coming in from space.
Wow.
So I can talk. I'll talk a little bit about the decade of research.
Okay. Well, we're going to do that. You know what, Paul? We're going to have to take a commercial break. That's the one thing about radio shows. We have to take a commercial break.
I tell you what. After that break, I will carry on with the Anuna Elish for the short time, because I'm not. I'll just carry on about the Anuna Elish because I hadn't quite finished it, and I was trying to. I've really gone about it round the wrong way. I should have talked about the data first, but you know.
Oh, that's okay. I tell you what I love about doing radio, and I say you have to free flow with it.
Yeah.
And I always say to a guest, hopefully we can hook up again and continue, because it's fascinating stuff. And it's so fascinating. I mean, you look down, the time has flown by, and believe me, we're going to leave people with wanting more. So, but let me take the commercial break. You can regroup how you want to come back and proceed. Jonathan has Cheryl see the power in the chat room. Helps out here a lot at Freedomizer Radio. They've hooked up, and anytime you want them to post any links for visuals, they're ready to go. And Paul, before I forget, the chat room was saying I'm not hearing it, but I'm sure you probably have the chat room up on your computer right now. Down below where you put your comment, you'll see a little speaker. Just turn that off, because I guess they were possibly hearing, every time someone makes a comment in there, it makes a clicking sound. So if
Is that better?
Does that work for you guys? They'll let us know. Well, let us take a commercial and come back so, we can continue on this, because I'm fascinated. Okay.
This is Tiger Lily. Please mark your calendars for May 20th. My guest will be Eric Scott's father. You'll recall the senseless Las Vegas Metro PD murder of Eric Scott at a Las Vegas Costco store in July 2010. You've heard lamestream media's spin. Now it's time to get the facts from Eric's dad.
My wonderful son Eric should still be alive and contributing to the community there, but well-meaning lawmakers said we want law and order, so let's stick this in there to help protect our cops. Now they're in the business of protecting killer cops, and people like my son will absolutely see no justice through the court system at this point. Why didn't Metro seize the cameras like they always do, including several cameras out in front where Eric was killed? I've never had a chance to tell all of this. Eric was on painkillers, yes. He had 40% of his L5 vertebra broken off jumping out of airplanes in the Army.
My guest, Bill Scott, Sunday, May 20th, 6 p.m. Pacific time on Tiger Lily's Freedom Roar.
In these troubling times, we should all be thinking about food security. That is why CJ and Tallulah started Patriot Pantry. Patriot Pantry offers a delicious assortment of gourmet meals and beverages. Just add water, heat, and eat. Made and grown in America, except for a few tropical fruits, all natural, GMO and irradiation-free, kosher, and a gluten-free selection. Most of the products have a 25-year shelf life and are packed for easy storage. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks in a wide variety of packaging to fit every need and budget. So get your food freedom today. Visit patriotpantry.gofoodsglobal.com. That's patriotpantry.gofoodsglobal.com. And find Patriot Pantry on Facebook and Twitter, too. Thank you from CJ and Tallulah.
Hey Vicky Hottie in Reno, what are you doing on Freedomizer Radio on Thursdays 10:30 p.m. to 12 a.m. Pacific Standard Time and Fridays at 9 p.m. to 12 a.m. Pacific Standard Time?
Well, Donnie Gilson, I am going to be hosting the Heated Conversation. But you already know this because you co-host.
I sure do. Please join us as we talk about UFOs, the universe, comets, health and herbal medicine, paranormal activities, weather, planets, asteroids, earthquakes, spirituality, HARP, secret societies, and current events. I think we should add that we always have great guests, a packed chat room, and very interesting conversations, with your occasional quirky way we give the news.
Just remember, on Thursdays at 10:30 p.m. to 12 a.m. Pacific Standard Time and Fridays 9 p.m. to 12 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, the Heated Conversation. Oh, and by the way, we have our always fun chat room at freedomizerradio.com. That's freedomizerradio.com. Just click the chat and listen button. See you there.
Do you believe we are not alone? Are you intrigued by the paranormal and psychic phenomena? Have you ever wondered if there was something abnormal about how the society operates? Do you believe you are here to do more on this planet? Do you feel as though you are living in a prison country or planet rather than a sovereign nation? Does it feel like you never had any constitutional rights, or that they are ignoring it as if it wasn't important? Join me, Joanna Johnston, psychic empath and spiritual warrior, on Illuminating Minds on FreedomizerRadio.com every Sunday night, 7:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, beginning on January 8th, to move further down the rabbit hole.
Feeling the effects of all that GMO food? Has TB left you completely disconnected from the rest of man? Do you have any control over your life or that of your family? Want to know how to escape the matrix? Then join me, Nikki, and together we can rise above dehumanization. Only on Freedomizer Radio. And you can catch me Monday and Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central, that's noon Pacific time. and Saturdays, 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Central, and 1 p.m. on the West Coast. Hope to see you there, Freedomizers.
Please learn more about Freedomizer Radio by going to freedomizerradio.com and also Facebook us right at freedomizerradio.com. Catch you there.
Okay, and welcome back to my special edition of the Purple Shift. It's me, Pathosages. You guys are getting a lot of me lately. And my special guest today is Paul Muir, who has this really great research he does with mystery orbs. He's healing energies, and we've only just touched on part of it, right, Paul?
Yeah. I mean,
we're getting the background.
I think it is so big that it's humbled me, to be honest, this research. I think that the closer that you get to looking at the creation and the number of predictions that I've made, this current solar minimum, and what we're expecting to see, quicker rotation of the Earth, lots and lots of these predictions from the data and from the understanding that I hold from the conclusions of that data have humbled me, to be honest, and it's a fully conscious universe.
I agree with that. That's exactly what I say. The deeper you go into it, because so many people just want to stop right at the Bible. No, really, the deeper you go into it, I said that you feel how you pull the vastness of the cosmos right into yourself.
Yeah.
And totally understand your connection.
It's like staring into the eyes of the Creator, and having those near-death experiences. They are humbling. They diminish the ego. Even though I'm saying these things, and it may get a lot of scientists back up, particles traveling faster than the speed of light, that have no mass, therefore cyclical supernovas, that's another theory, my magnetic cooling theory. All of these things go to put in the model of the universe together. And, I can tell you why mammoths were blast frozen. I can tell you, these things, you only have to have a look at what's embedded in the ivory tusks of those mammoths to know that it's cosmic particle. And the research has been done on it. They don't understand how they were blast frozen while they were eating buttercups. But I'll go back to the Inuna Elish, because I came across this probably after finishing the book, and it just blew me away, to be honest. It's and frustrated me, because whenever you mention the Anunnaki, you always get a number of people with a certain mindset, and they have just been conditioned into thinking that way. If you ask any of them, have they read the Inuna Elish? And the agreed translation of it in the 1906 L.W. King's, I think it was L.W. King's translation from 1906. They'll tell you no, So, how do they know something? Oh, well, somebody else told them. Well, you've got to find it out yourself. So, these serpents that are the waves, they're picking up charge mass, they're carrying water. The Mayans have got the deluge from a serpent, you see. So it's one of these waves that are carrying across the universe water, and one of the serpents were called the Muddy One. Lamu and Lamar, I think it was, or something like that. And they were the sort of creator gods, and the universe started. So these two muddy serpents traveled the universe. They were born out of the Tiamat, which is a primordial substance, which the Hermetica and the Emerald Tablet talk about. And that primordial substance is the orb bar wave. That is the energy of creation. So you'll get serpents coming out of it. It'll transmute and transfer its energy through strands. We recently saw an orb attached to the sun through a strand. It's one of our classifications of orbs. So the next two gods were a brother and sister union called Anshar and Kishar. Ansar was a sky pivot. That's what it translates as. And Kishar is the earth pivot. So the earth didn't exist, but the spiral of the earth existed. Now, how the ancients knew that, I don't know. This is backed up by Chip Art's work on peculiar galaxies and quasi-stellar objects. So, Chip Art, I suppose it's. I'll have to go back to the lunar list, but I need to give you a little bit of background about Chip Art's work, or Halton C. Art's work. There's a thing called redshift. It's the Doppler effect. Anything that's, the Doppler effect, this law of redshift suggests that anything moving away from you will be in a red frequency, and anything moving towards you will be in the blue frequency. However, that is not observed in space, because if you put a redshift trace on a quasar that's from a particular quasi-stellar object or quasar on a spiral galaxy, right, they give you different redshifts. So it's like saying, we've got a redshift law, but actually we can measure this spiral galaxy and the quasars that are attached through bridges, which are seen in the infrared spectrum, right? So they're joined, they're not overlapping as such, give you different measurements. And so redshift is not correct. And there's a nice little video that they've done on how the ancients were right on these spiraling points. Because if that data, and it's 20 or 30 years, I think, that they've done this research. Of course, their telescope time was taken away from them. It's like children in the playground. When science comes across something it doesn't like, these people are ostracized. They have this telescope time taken off, their lab time taken off them. The research funding gets slashed. Obviously, right, because the Illuminati want science in a certain direction. But redshift is not a law. Or it certainly doesn't function when you look at quasi-stellar objects or quasars. They cannot be made. So it's a bit like saying, I'm going to measure my car outside, and there's a tree alongside it. And one measurement gives you 2 miles, and the other gives you 25,000 miles. That's how inaccurate, but they'll say, it's a quasar, it's different energy, redshift doesn't work. And if redshift is not working in that, then redshift is not a law. So that's one of the laws of science that just doesn't work. There's another one with the gravity, but I'll go back to the Innumerable. And so you have these spiraling points that produce energy, right, that produce quasars, are what the ancients were talking about as Anshar and Kishar. So these are the spiraling points that now will produce energy, not a big bang, but a field action at a point. that is producing energy. So we have an idea from string theory, which is the 0-point energy, but it's not quantum, and it's not quantum because of the way gravity works. So we have this Anshar and Kishar, and these are the brother-sister gods that gave rise to Anu and Ki. Right, Anu and Ki. So you see where I'm going with this. Anu and
yes,
Ki,
I did.
the union between the Anu and Ki produced the Anunnaki. Right? So the heavens, the spiral in the sky, and the spiral which forms the earth, eventually matter fixes to those spirals or comes out of the center of those spirals to fuse to form planets, and this is why the magnetic field or this energy field and the megaliths align. So what you have is the Ki, which is Ki, which is translated from the Anu-Uralish as the earth, and the Anu, which is the heavens, or have formed on Anshar and Kishar. Right, so you've got a spinning point, which is now spinning mass into existence and forming the planets and the heavens and the earth. And the union between the two gave rise to the Anunnaki. So the Anunnaki, in my reckoning, is once the earth was formed within the solar system, it became linked to the heavens, and therefore the Anunnaki is the link of energy that holds the motion of the earth in the universe, and the sun, of course. So how corrupted can you get to think that these are people? These are not human gods. These are the energy forces. And so in the Anu-Uralish there are lesser gods, and there is Niribu. And Niribu sees the midst of the Tiamat. Now we see orbs gathering energy and transferring energy. There's some photographs where 3 orbs are linked together and they're transferring energy. We've seen them around my hand when they're picking up energy and converting them. We've seen them attached to the sun. There was a recent solar event where an orb was spotted attaching through a strand to the sun. And so the orb, Niribu, is not a planet, under my reckoning, because the other reference, and there's only 2 references in the Anu-Uralish. One is it sees the midst of the Tiamat, which is taking energy from the primordial source, and we've just seen an orb taking energy off the sun, and the other reference in the Anu-Uralish is that the planets upheld its orbit. And so that implies that it's not a planet. The planets upheld its orbit, or the gods or whatever upheld it. The gods or the planets upheld its orbit. And so it is on an orbit, and it's an orbiting orb. Now, orbs are seen in the infrared spectrum. This is parts of my later conclusions. Am I 100% right? I will only be right if this event is seen, and I'm not sure that I particularly want to see a massive orb dropping a deluge onto the earth.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing in me being a smart ass or whatever, finding this stuff out. It's present in all rock art. It's present in all ancient. in most ancient manuscripts that haven't been manipulated and misinterpreted. So we have this wave format, which converts into an orb, which breaks out of a wave and delivers spheres. These spheres will get fused and form moons and planets on points of energy. Some of the points of energy create the matter from themselves, from the center of that point. Hence, many people believe in expanding Earth theory and a plasma core. It's exactly what that is. So these things begin to sort of fit together. The one thing in
and start making sense to things. I feel we've been wondering about. Forever.
Yeah.
Because I would have to say, like your one particular picture, it's the rock, and it just has someone would maybe see it and think, oh, it's just a bunch of white dots, and, well, those ones look like they're connected.
Yeah.
I think, really, you are the first person I ever heard in your videos saying that they were depicting orbs, energy orbs. And as soon as you said it, for me, I was like, aha.
Yeah. Well,
Makes perfect sense.
The hook web orb, I've measured the geometry of the internal of that thing. The orbs attached to my hand, they're attached to the Scandinavian rock art society's images. I'll finish up on the Anuna Elish because it's something that fascinated me.
Okay.
Marduk, you've heard of Marduk, yeah?
Yep.
You're Marduk, right? Marduk's name, translated, is a solar calf, right? So it's pretty easy to see that they're referring to a new star or a new heavenly body in the Taurus constellation. Can you see that? The calf from Taurus, the solar calf. And so the Crab Nebula, which is in the Taurus constellation, was formed at the start of the Mayan calendar. The light was seen from it in 1054, and we had the second sun. It was seen at night and in the day. So there's a megalithic site in the Upper Swansea Valley called Nant Taru, and Nant is a stream or a brook, and Taru is a bull or the Taurus constellation. So the translation could be a brook of the bull, or it could be a stream from Taurus. And to me, it led to one of the predictions from some of these theories that I've been working on, that massless particles will travel faster than the speed of light. And obviously that has been borne out recently by CERN. CERN have found that neutrinos travel faster than the speed of light. And so the ancients understood that this part, the Crab Nebula, is actually Marduk. Now, so the Crab Nebula is Marduk. That to me is. They also talk in the Anuna Elish that Marduk was given in his defeat of the Tiamat a ring and a scepter and a prominent position or a throne. So the Crab Nebula is in a prominent position in the Taurus constellation. Chandra recently, or at least 3 or 4 years ago, got some images of the Crab Nebula. It has a ring round the outside of it, and it has a scepter or a pulsing jet through the center of it. And to me, that is outstanding that they could have known that the Crab Nebula, the solar calf, was that Marduk in the Enlil. And to be honest, I'm absolutely certain of it. And I'm not suggesting that anyone would understand that. So then you have to ask yourself, well, why did this happen in 3100 BC? And of course, it's to do with fields of energy, which I, of course, interact with, that expand and contract. And so what we have is the sun's electrical field or electromagnetic field, or the point of energy which the sun sits on, is in contraction. It means that the heliosphere is in contraction. Now, I don't want to divert what I'm saying, but we made a prediction that orbs would be seen in high magnetic fields. This is based on some correspondence I have with the Canadian scientist called Hutchinson, and the observation of what happens to the orb bar wave inside electrical fields. And so we came to the conclusion that you would be seeing orbs in, say, the Van Allen belts in space, and of course the tether incident proves that you see orbs in the close to the magnetic fields of the Earth, or the Van Allen belts.
Okay.
Do you know the Van Allen belts? Yes. The magnetic.
Well, yeah, because I've been talking about that on my radio show, and because my whole theory on the whole solar system itself is moving, and we're coming into this galactic plane. We've entered a whole new world out in space, so to speak.
Yeah, well, that's right. I mean, it's so that the sun's field goes into contraction, and that means that sunspots don't come to the surface of the sun, and it enters a sunspot minimum. Even it's doing some odd things. It's creating filaments in the sun, but the sunspot cycle is the quietest on record.
And see, I find that scary, because if the sun is being its quietest, and if I'm to believe, because I'm so skeptical, it doesn't matter where I feel I get information from, I've just decided I have to stay on the fence with everything. But say spaceweather.com, they have the list there of sunspot cycles, and the way it has changed over the last couple of years, talking about sunspots. And for example, in 2011, of course, they're probably only talking about, maybe one side of the sun. I have no idea, but they said there was only 2 days that the sun did not have any sunspots out of the whole 365 days. And that so far this year, there has been none. Actually, beginning of the week, end of last week, I think I thought, we might get our first sunspotless days. And then the next day, I think there was 5 of them there. So if this is quiet, I'm concerned what active is going to be.
Yeah, well, again, there's at the end of solar cycles, you get a proton event, and that lags behind the end of the solar cycle. Now, the solar cycle was due to end in 2012, solar cycle 24. It was late to get going. It didn't really go anywhere. Hathaway, who's the leading NASA scientist, and I've got this on some of my videos, was predicting something like 190 sunspots within the cycle by 2008, 2009. And these were predictions based on his 2006 predictions. We probably had about 20. So he was off by a magnitude. The New Age movement actually got hold of this and said, oh, it's going to be the most violent sunspot cycle on record. And it's the least violent sunspot cycle on record. And now, of course, there's a problem. A problem with the data and the way they collect it. What we have now is a stereo mapping of the sun, both sides, and so what you're doing is again fudging data, because if you've got more equipment pointed at the sun because it's doing something they didn't predict, you will observe sunspots. Some sunspots on the back side of the sun may have only appeared for 3 days. So they can bulk out their data if they want to by including data that wasn't included before.
There's people really watch that. I give them kudos. Very dedicated to paying attention to everything JPL and that puts out, and they find all the discrepancies. And that's why I said, we're all left to read it, view it, but don't put all your eggs in that basket.
No. because let's say the leading NASA scientist got it wrong, then what you can send out probes that will look to the backside of the sun and increase your data. We would have never been able to see that before. And so whatever they see, oh, there's another sunspot there, there's another sunspot there, and then, it's a 28-day rotation of it, or I think it comes into view less than 28 days. I think there's at least 7 to 14 days that we can't see the backside of the sun or see those sunspots, and they can actually be created and disappear within that time as well. So some sunspots will. So
that's why, Paul, I connected with you. I love your research.
Yeah.
Because someone like me who feels that perhaps maybe 20 years ago in books I was getting some truth. I don't feel I'm getting it now.
No.
Is that, and like I would speak for even my listeners, they come to Freedomizer because they know the hosts there are all doing their best to give honest reports. And I'm always honest to tell everybody, here's what we know. Now, is it true? Or here's information coming out. Let's make sure we explore both sides of it, because I'm going to tell you, my bottom line is like with your research or some others that I've had on, is I want people to listen to it, because I made the statement kind of early when I started in January, and I thought, wow, I might have just turned off a lot of people and nobody's going to listen to me when I said, everybody's talking about this, going down the rabbit hole, the Matrix, the blue pill, the red pill, and the governments have lied to us, and they have been controlling us, and the Anunnaki, and on and on. And I said, you think you have woken up that you think your government has lied to you? You're going to wake up, and the biggest lie you're going to have found out you were told is the story you hold closest to your side, and it's going to be what is religion.
Well, I mean, to be honest, it's all being massaged. I mean, we in probably 2002 or 3, I think it was probably, we came across a sequence of photographs where orbs were delivering energies to trees, and so let's imagine now that the Earth's magnetic field is declined by. Well, let's not imagine it. The Earth's magnetic field is declined by 10%. I'm thinking in the last 50 years, right? So if we had a higher magnetic field, we would see more auras around the planet. We would see the Orb wave as well. Quite simply, that would be the fact. So if you imagine now, and I'm sure John will be able to post those that image from my Picasso account of what looks like a bush on fire. So to me, it's a magnetic effect of a burning bush that burnt without any heat. It was an electromagnetic effect.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so it's quite simply that they're describing what they saw, and then it gets corrupted. So we
right.
had a sequence of and of course you've got Christmas baubles on a tree. You've got tree sprites or forest fairies, and these are the balls of light that people are seeing. Many years ago, we were in the forestry collecting data, and there was a policeman in there who used to go in there as a young child, and he's seen balls of light in the forestry. When the magnetic field increases, because when you go into the Van Allen belts, you'll see them. And in fact, Voyager recently went to the edges, or has gone out to the edges of our solar system, and they describe the sun's heliosphere. So we have the Van Allen belts, which is the magnetic fields of the Earth, and we have the sun's heliosphere, which is the bubble of our universe sits in. And they recorded magnetic bubbles in the Van Allen, in the heliosphere as well.
Right.
And of course, the ancients
associated in with when NASA came out, probably end of last year, beginning of this year, with their quote. I'm making quotations with my fingers here. What did they call it? The mysterious.
Seafoam or magnetic bubbles it was something headlined like that by NASA. They didn't expect to see magnetic balls, and it was also described more like a biological cell wall. which is funny to me because the orbs divide as well.
Right.
So we were working on.
See, let me ask you this question, Paul, before I forget, because I'm being due diligent because I want you to be able to share. That's why, I said, hopefully we'll work it out again sometime to get into Q&A. I really wanted you to be able to present what you wanted to present, but I kind of was talking about and sometimes I don't. Find my words or articulate a lot of times. But, I was saying about, because I started doing my own little research on gamma ray bursts and association with earthquakes and whatnot.
Yeah.
And, I said this energy coming in, which we have seen from the Soho videos that go up when something flare goes off and you see that blast. It looks like snow coming at us. I'm like, they call it the radiation storm. Yeah. But I said, if I put, say, a bunch of marbles on the table and said, okay, here's the solar system. Now, because I said I believe the whole solar system has moved. We are in the astral belt. We are experiencing comets. These comets, half the time, we're lucky they find them at the last minute and they're flying by. But I'm like, okay, so they, people will go, well, it was so far away it would have nothing to do with us. And I said, well, I'm trying to give them the visual that if I set these marbles up, and I said, now you would have to imagine there's an energy field around that planet, The marbles are my planets. They have an energy field. Now, I roll a pea through there, and it has energy. Now, they start bouncing off them energy fields.
Yeah.
There's going to be, a reaction to the energy field being hit. So now, with these orbs that you're talking about, this energy be playing a role?
We'd have to go back to the weakening of the heliosphere of the sun. So this semi-permeable membrane that's described by NASA in its recent Voyager discoveries of the magnetic bubbles in the heliosphere has varying different strengths. Obviously, once we go into a minimum, I don't want to quote our shield, protective shield from outside our solar system, so the Nant-Taro effect, or particles from outside our solar system, which include orbs, can come through into our solar system. So as these particles come into our solar system, they will disturb the outer planets, so you'll have effects on the surface of those planets. I believe that there are very, very few meteorites per se, and they sent out a probe to collect cosmic dust, and they couldn't. Was it cosmic dust? I can't remember which one it was, but they struggled to find the Big Bang dust. Now if this, so they're struggling. The probes accelerate in space and then decelerate. And they're not supposed to do that. So there's a lot of anomaly there within the science that. So the ancients in the Puranas, I think it's the Puranas, the Vedic scriptures talk about a time of change when the stars start to shine brighter. So as the magnetic field, the semi-permeable membrane created by our sun called the heliosphere weakens, more photonic light comes through into our solar system, hence the planets look brighter. So they already knew about these fields of energy. They named megalithic sites Nantaro, the streaming particles from the bull. And what we are being affected by is our weakened heliosphere is allowing the regeneration of our sun, to be honest, the regeneration of our magnetic field. And so we will have a strengthening of our magnetic field. We've already seen a quicker rotation of the Earth. Some of these earthquakes are doing it. And so these particles interacting with the sun, and we've seen orbs interacting with the sun, are going to give a rebirth to the sun. I mean, one of the planets in I think it's the Orion constellation, or Osiris, is the sun rebirth deity. And so that when we get a burst of energy from Osiris, it regenerates our sun. So our sun goes into decline. Our magnetic field's gone into decline. We stopped seeing the orbs around 3,100. And we're going to start to see them again. And we are seeing them, and more people are seeing them. Now, the UFO lobby are going to be saying, well, the UFO is fueling up over power stations. The reason why orbs are seen over power stations is because there's more leakage of electromagnetic energy from these nuclear sites including the military sites, and they're picking up charge and they're becoming illuminated. So it's quite simple that the orb bar wave has the Earth's rotation, and we pick up more energy, more orbs are going to be seen. So we have to get to a stage where we're going to understand this rock art. We're going to have to, people are going to have to try and, or particularly science is going to have to try and match up my data, because I also have geological samples of how the orb is fused in the upper atmosphere and falls from the sky, as it did in the Hans Glacier woodcut. In 1561, I bought the woodcut from the Zurich Central Library as part of the Wicane collection. I purchased, I got a translation from a company called Veritas, not the radio station, and all the things that, not all of them, but a lot of the things that Hans Glacier talked about, of what he was a sort of local reporter of his day in 1561. He talked about orbs falling out the ends of the tubes, and of course our data, this is what we were saying back in 2004 in one of our first initial talks. So,
yeah, that's 1561. That was interesting, because I talk about, synergy going on, like I'll be thinking about something and then poof. And I think over gamma ray burst, I was looking into something, somehow ended up with that picture and was reading about that, and then I think right after that you uploaded a video and you were talking about it.
Yeah. And I'm working on one now at the moment, but I can't quite put it together yet. It's about the spider grandmother. The Hopi say the spider grandmother threw the web up into the sky. Well, they're talking about the magnetic field now, and it fell back down to Earth, and then she threw it up again, the magnetic field. And this is probably the Anunnaki, the connection of the field of the Earth to the universe. And she threw it up again, and it fell back down to Earth. And of course, if you have a look at some of the images on of the Earth's magnetic field, it looks like a spider. And you can all you want to do is just Google the Earth's magnetic field, and you'll see the spider and the spider grandmother. And of course, it links into the weaving spiders here, and why they were using Midsummer's Night Dream, and these were evil spirits, basically, but they call them the king of the fairies, but they're the mischievous spirits, and how they want a low magnetic field so that they can be depraved, But I mean, that takes a lot of understanding. In low magnetic fields, the human mind deteriorates, and again, if they're using pulsed electromagnetic fields into people's brain, and you can cure depression from it. So we live in a low magnetic field. We're living in the Kali age, the Kali Yuga age, which talks about now the legs of Dharma. I don't know whether you know anything about the legs of Dharma, but as spiral galaxies lose their arms, morality deteriorates. So the yugas are telling us it. Dharma is morality. The bull stands on 4 legs, 4 spiral arms from the spiral galaxy. Then it stands on 3 legs, and morality deteriorates by a quarter. It then stands on 2 legs, and it reduces by another quarter until you get into the Kali age. And the Kali age is the age of demonic forces. And that's how it all ties together. And this now comes to a very strange piece of research about the decapitation of the burial rituals of the Bronze Age. After death, not before death, they removed the head, the skull, and separated it from the body. And I believe that they were doing this so that the ego and the soul didn't become intertwined. And as the soul and the ego becomes intertwined, so they separate the energy of the skull and they bury it in the bottom of the henge. And then they either cremate or bury. There's very few burials actually of the Bronze Age, but they found 70 skulls in the bottom of one of the henges, and a number of other in the ditches. They were separated from the body, and when the ego entwines with the soul, they can become hungry ghosts.
That's interesting.
It's a very difficult. So.
Well, I mean, I understand. I mean, for me, what I'm interpreting from that is they felt if by removing the head, in which I would say if that's over ego, then that would be over the fact that, because the ego is viewed kind of as like our dark, our negative, our little devils. And, of course, we're always talking about raising our consciousness to the Christ consciousness. So you have everybody talking about the pineal gland, and it has to be open to reach the higher consciousness. And I'm like, totally agree, but I think once you get all the knowledge that raises up your consciousness, you will find that then you resonate from your heart chakra. Yeah.
There's a tiny little piece. There's a tiny. You'll see it sometimes as an energy worker and a healer. The healer, energy balance restorer, whatever. I don't know. Again, the healer isn't, because everyone can do this. There's a tiny little piece of white light that you can see sometimes. In the center of the heart. It's only pinhead size, and John's seen it many times. I've seen it many times. Is it real? Well, I don't know. I mean, John's seen it, I've seen it, and a number of there's a thing called a biological photon or biophotons. So each cell emits a biological light. So, I mean, science is getting there, but it doesn't want to pull it all together yet. It still wants the Big Bang. It still wants, and nothing can move faster than the speed of light. So even though CERN has now had neutrinos moving faster than the speed of light, it's still going to deny it. They want to recollect the data, and it's still showing up. So eventually what will happen is the usual fudge. The similar things they did to Chip Art's work on the peculiar galaxies, or there's a very simple gravity experiment which suggests that the laws of gravity are not correct. And it was a Lockheed Martin's engineer, took 4 magnets, he bolted 2 together with attracting forces, and he bolted 2 together with repelling forces, encased them in concrete, dropped them off a building, and they fell at different speeds even though the weight and mass were the same. So that law is now broken, that suggests that something with the same volume and mass will fall at the same speed, because it doesn't. Because electromagnetism overrides it. So we have the electric universe.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
And I would say that the chat room I have, right now, I say are all, now my words just went from my head. They would all be relating to what you're saying. They, as I was, appreciative to know that somebody else is out there talking about it, has research to back it up. And they're ready to step on.
You imagine this now, right? You throw some iron filings, all right, because it's a good mental image, into space, right? Do you think that they'll bind together through electromagnetism or gravity? You know, metal isn't easily magnetized. So as soon as it comes across a magnetic field in the universe, it'll bind together. So gravity is no way can it be the creative force.
Right.
You know, the only thing you've got to say is there magnetic fields out in the universe? And of course there are. You know, I was in Astrofest 2012, and they were talking of, I don't know whether you've heard of Galaxy Zoo. It's a Hubble classification site. And they found that one of the pulsars, when you classify them under the Hubble classification guide in Galaxy Zoo, noticed that there was a jet that hit something. Now they're calling it gas, but and it illuminated a patch in space. Particles are hitting magnetic fields. I mean, they'll tell you it's gas.
Yeah.
I mean, but plasma. I mean, I think it's all a big fudge, to be honest.
Mhm. Yeah, and like you're bringing up that, talking about that, like jet. Now, see that term came up in my gamma ray.
Yeah.
And see, I'm starting to question. Okay, so gamma ray burst happens out there in the cosmos, and somebody wants to tell me, well, that's so far away, it's light years, and I'm thinking, well, so we've been told. I don't know about that, and reading about if we took a direct hit from a jet, we'd be in big trouble.
Pulsing stars are exactly that. They pulse out energy. So energy is put into our universe through pulsing stars. And are we saying that none of it will ever come and hit the Earth? Well, what is cosmic? What is cosmic dust? Not solar dust. No, solar particle. Cosmic particle.
Right.
Cosmic particle is from outside our solar system. It's come through our heliosphere. Is it 400 tons a year or something hit the Earth? I don't know the figure. Don't quote me on that figure. But there's a mass. There is a mass that's coming through into our solar system, hitting our Earth. So you say, right? Well, the Van Allen belts now, right? The Van Allen belts are weakened. The heliosphere is weakened. Carbon-14. Carbon-14 is made when cosmic rays or particles hit the upper atmosphere and act on nitrogen, and we get an increase in carbon-14. And what have we got at the moment? An increase in carbon-14. Another one of the predictions from back in 2005 or 6 that I made. The radioactive carbon rates have started to accelerate. Now, some are putting that down to Fukushima. I reckon that it could be a blend of both things. But if carbon-14 is increasing because we are having more cosmic particles and dust coming into our solar system, and we have more light coming into our solar system from our stars, it makes pretty obvious that this reaction on nitrogen in the upper atmosphere with cosmic rays, it adds to the effect. Whether it's the total effect, I couldn't say, but again, it was one of those if I keep making predictions and they keep on happening, then over time, orbs will be seen in space, in magnetic fields. Yes, tick that box. Orbs will be seen on the planets that had a magnetic field and volcanic action. And we had Spirit and Rover, and there's the golf ball crater. Matter will fuse to the bar, and therefore we will see bars and you've got the monoliths on Mars, which people think are man-made structures, but all they are is one of those balloons, the bar or the bar wave, which is got charge. It's charged, and the volcanic ash from or the dust storms on Mars are struck by lightning and fused, and they fall from the sky, and they create like these Towers of Babel kind of things that stand up from the surface. So they fall from the sky. They also burn if you've got hydrogen, right? The Tunguska effect, right? You know, when the Siberia was blown up, you know, and those there is an eyewitness account that a cylinder was traveling through the skies above their villages, making a fizzing sound. I can make that fizzing sound with a balloon and flour or whatever. As the flour attaches, it crackles and fizzes. So what we have is the orb bar wave, or the bar. And again, if I started to talk to you about what the bar is a single orb, which is extended into a bar, because it is not held back by magnetic forces. It creates its own integrity, and therefore it can pick up any gases released. Right, so I'll have to wind the clock back a little bit because I'm probably losing everybody.
No, don't be. No, I wouldn't say you're losing everybody because now, because I was going to ask you this now, because there's someone that puts out videos and they'll see like I'll call it cigar shape, broad bar, whatever, and I believe that's what you're referring to. If you have the capabilities of even, I don't know, on Stellarium or Google Sky, or if you have the world's best telescope or whatever, your interpretation is that it's these orbs that I suppose somebody down here could maybe want to interpret it as a ship or intelligent design. Yeah. And it's merely these energies basically have come together and formed, and they are organized.
Yeah. It's
not the Anunnaki coming after us.
No. All right. So you imagine this now. So you've got this tube now, this cylinder that was described. Hans Glaser has got them in his woodcuts. So now we've got a solar minimum, right? We've had global warming, and we're starting to enter into a period of dramatic climatic change. Like today, right? Today I'm out in it. The sun comes out and it burns you. The sun goes in and you can see your breath. And I dare say, have you had those effects with you? Or blistering heat and then a week later freezing cold? Have you had those effects?
Yes. The strange, influx in the temperatures.
Yeah.
That's what you're talking about. Like, it can be 70 during the day and night. Once the sun goes down, it's suddenly, you're turning back on your furnace and everything.
Yeah, that's right. And it's
going on.
And it's all now. This is what happened in 3100, and there's data for it. Wet, it was dry, it was hot, it was cold, and that's the climate was in turmoil, and that's what our climate is. But the people in 3100 didn't die. Do you know what I mean? I mean, they just went through the transition. The megalithic builders disappeared. That's all I can say. The megalithic builders disappeared, and we entered into city walls were built, and weapons were designed. People separated from each other, and we entered into this Kali age. The age of where the ego was born. In fact, I wrote to a chappie called Tessarian, Michael Tessarian, and he was talking about Homer's birthplace of the ego, because it's first referenced, I think, in Homer's work. And I said to him, because he was talking about a connection to nature and how that connection was broken by an astronomical event. And that astronomical event is the Taurus Crab Nebula forming. Now, how can we think that so that the stream from the bull on the Tau effect comes into our solar system, and unfortunately the Taurus energy ripped our magnetic field to pieces. And so we've had a continual decline of our energy. We haven't had it recharged, and the Earth and the Sun will be going through this rebirth. And I don't know. This may be a little bit more hopeful thinking than I believe that the Sun is going to recharge itself through these events of. You see, I believe in cycles.
Right.
We get a peak and a trough, and a peak and a trough, and a peak and a trough, and we got that through the ice core records. And I think we're at our trough, and so we're going to go back to the peak. And as we go back to the peak, the Sun is going to become more energetic. The Earth's magnetic field is going to get stronger. The rotation of the Earth is going to quicken. The angular tilt is going to pull back up from. I think it fluctuates between 23 degrees and 20. It varies by 3 degrees. I think it is the angular tilt of the Earth, and we may get a moving more towards the perpendicular, maybe a couple of degrees. It is already shifting. The Earth's magnetic field is moving at 60 kilometers a year.
Yeah.
The magnetic polar wander effect, which is not the rotational axis. So that all these things that we're looking at a very different. A very different system that is coming towards us, and when we see the Orb bar wave again, because of the higher energetic fields, some people are just not going to cope.
Right.
I mean, all the people around me who've seen my talks or whatever. I'll always say to them, don't worry, it's not aliens in spaceships. It was seen in the rock art, the Bronze Age man. The orbs attached to my hand. I could talk to you about how the bars enter the chakra points.
Ooh.
I got it on video.
Oh, well, okay. I'm being a bad girl on commercials here. We have to take another break, and then we're going to come back and finish up our hour. What's that?
I'll post up that link to that video.
Okay, yeah, sure. Post some videos. People might want to take the opportunity to ask you some questions in the chat room. Also, when we come back, I'll leave it up to you where you want to go, because I had mentioned to everybody, and you gave us a little sampling. You popped in the chat room last week about doing some remote viewing. So I'll leave it up to you where you feel you want to go. And Steve Paul, didn't I tell you the time just flies? It flies because I'm into this conversation, and I'm like, I could be sitting here and go, wow, it's 11 o'clock, and I feel like we just started. So you decide where you want to go, and I'll run a couple of commercials, and we'll be back, everybody.
Hello, listeners. This is Devastating for You, the host of the Global Perspective Show. This show covers in-depth analysis of a wide variety of topics that involve various social issues, including today's current events, ranging from geopolitics, the economic sector, our health and wellness situation, while also tapping into spirituality and self-consciousness. Now, unlike the mainstream media, there is no prescripted set of guidelines nor biased opinions. Our objective is to bring awareness to how our society is being controlled and manipulated by unseen forces in just about every aspect of our day-to-day activities, which some may be identified as the New World Order, the Illuminati, the Cabal, and other unknown secret societies that have imposed agendas that restrict the mass population from operating in a free-thinking, natural resource-based, self-sustaining environment. Now, no topics will be considered taboo. Everyone is invited to voice and express your opinions and possible solutions or alternative methods to deal with this madness we live in. We'll also touch upon the esoteric area, UFOs, and the concepts of natural law as it should apply to mankind. So make sure you join us every Tuesday and Thursday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, that's 1:30 p.m. Pacific, and 9:30 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time for our international listeners. And don't forget to tune in also on Saturday nights right after the Political Independence with Critic at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific Time. Yeah, knowledge is power, but it's how that knowledge is used that will determine the fate of our current and future generations. You must be there in order to be aware on the Global Perspective on Freedomizerradio.com.
In these troubling times, we should all be thinking about food security. That is why CJ and Tallulah started Patriot Pantry. Patriot Pantry offers a delicious assortment of gourmet meals and beverages. Just add water, heat, and eat. Made and grown in America, except for a few tropical fruits, all natural, GMO and irradiation-free, kosher, and a gluten-free selection. Most of the products have a 25-year shelf life and are packed for easy storage. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks in a wide variety of packaging to fit every need and budget. So get your food freedom today. Visit patriotpantry.gofoodsglobal.com. That's patriotpantry.gofoodsglobal.com. And find Patriot Pantry on Facebook and Twitter, too. Thank you from CJ and Tallulah.
You know the Constitution like the back of your hand. You've read books, listened to podcasts, attended lectures, surfed websites, and watched videos. You've made liberty your life's goal, but something seems to be missing. Stickers from LibertyStickers.com. Exercise your freedom of speech with the world's most dangerous bumper stickers. That's LibertyStickers.com. But wait. There's more. You can buy Liberty Stickers wholesale. Get them for 99 cents each when you put 100 or more in your shopping cart in any combination. Sell them or give them away. They're great for gun shows, flea markets, fairs, outreach, and more. Earn extra money, promote freedom, and spread the word. Need custom stickers, labels, or decals for your organization or business? Liberty Stickers makes them. Go to LibertyStickers.com to order or call 877-873-9626. LibertyStickers.com. The world's most dangerous stickers.
What's up with these sorry politicians? Lots of bark. When it's showtime, whimpering like little shih tzus. You want big cuts? Ron Paul's been screaming it for years. Budget crisis? No problem. Cut $1 trillion year one. That's trillion with a T. Department of Education? Gone. Interior, Energy, HUD, Commerce? Gone. Later, bureaucrats. That's how Ron Paul rolls. Want to drain the swamp? Ron Paul. Do it.
I'm Ron Paul, and I approve this message.
This is Mercy. If you're listening to this message, warriors, you are the resistance. Warriors, you are not alone. There are pockets of resistance all around the planet. We are at the brink. Read about it in The Sovereign, newspaper of the resistance. Available now at newsstands everywhere. The Sovereign is a monthly 24-page tabloid newspaper featuring incendiary content about life during wartime in the age of Obama. Warriors, keep to date every month. Remember to read The Sovereign, newspaper of the resistance. Available at newsstands everywhere. This alert is for all you boppers out there in the big city, all you street people with an ear for the action. This is Mercy. If you're listening to this message, warriors, you are the resistance. This is Mercy. Mine will be the last voice you will ever hear. Don't be alarmed.
Please learn more about Freedomizer Radio by going to freedomizerradio.com and also Facebook us right at freedomizerradio.com. Catch you there.
Hi, and welcome back to a special edition of The Purple Shift with me, Pathosages. Wow, I've been having such a good time. Already 2 hours and 11 minutes have flown by. I could keep going forever. My special guest today is Paul Muir, and he's been telling us about, well, you called them mystery orbs, Paul, but I think you've explained it and taken the mystery out of it.
Yeah.
Which is
I
wonderful,
think
because the people are going to start seeing them.
Yeah.
Because I think people associate, as I always did, you snap a picture and you see an orb and, you're like, oh, there's a spirit there.
Well, I've been on Facebook. I've spoken to the orb community. It's far, far bigger than that. I think that this is the primordial substance, the prana, the chi, the life force, the creative force that creates everything. I'm not saying that the soul doesn't travel into at the end of the book. This is now old in terms of the science that I've had to undertaken. It's got the science method, shooting with 2 cameras, shooting into mirrors to see the reflection of the orbs, the videos that we've got, the bars that fire out the tips of megalithic stones, the orbs that are attached to the hand. The data is so vast. It's just so vast that people just have to deny it. So it's pretty. For me, after 20 years, it's sort of I'm a bit not frustrated. I don't particularly uphold the model of the universe. I think scientists and the science world should be doing what the principles of science are, which is seeking truth. That is a fundamental to science. In work, and I work in the science section of a university, I have my geological samples, and I was asked to hand over some of the research for publication by our senior geologist, or at least it was not. That didn't come from the geologist. That comes from the lecturer I work with, and the trouble is that it will be cherry-picked. And one of your comments on your forum chat was, what relationship has ball lightning got with orbs? Well, it's just lightning striking an orb. So your ball lightning effect is lightning striking orb. And if you've got dust in the atmosphere, it it fuses the silicate or whatever the material is that's surrounding that ball lightning effect, and stone spheres will fall from the sky. Now in France, I think it was just before Christmas, one of them which would be the size of, do you know bowls? Maybe do you know bowl? It's the size of a reasonably large orange fell from the sky while this man is walking over a French field, and it fell alongside him, and it was steaming. Exactly what happened in 1921 for 4 months in Chico in America. Now that happened for 4 months. You know, and is it Charles Fort? Is it the Fortean Times? Have you heard of that? It's a massive publication, I think. Anyway,
I can't say I've heard of that. I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, he in 1921 he sent an investigator over, and a Professor Studley looked at these stone spheres falling from the sky. You know, the Hopi call their Mocky marbles thunderbolts. In the 18th century science, they believed that these things burning in the sky and these matter was created in the upper atmosphere. Well, of course it is. Do you know what I mean? It's like you just look at it. You know, it's so bloody simple to me. You know, but science is looking at the 3% or the 2.9 or whatever percent. You know, when I have looked at the rest of it. Now you can either.
Well, to me, you're a piece of the puzzle that's been missing for a while.
Yeah. I mean, and what is? I mean, I could be. You know, you could say, well, yeah, it's been lost for 5,000 years. You know, this understanding. Tesla understood these fields. You know, some of the
and
things
everybody loves Tesla right now.
Yeah, I mean, he understands. Hutchinson. Have you heard of the Hutchinson effect?
Yes.
So he's, I forget his surname now anyway, but he's a Canadian. He's a Canadian for the listeners who haven't.
I think it's John Hutchinson.
Yeah, John Hutchinson. That's it. He was taking Tesla coils out of decommissioned battleships, and he was positioning them in different positions in his lab, and he was creating the magnetic mists and orbs in his laboratories, and he was on a radio interview, so I wrote to him, and I sent him over some photographs, because it was one of the predictions. Orbs will be seen in stronger magnetic fields. Now, Tesla coils are creating stronger magnetic fields. And so he was illuminating and creating the energy of creation. You know, again, I'm not certain about that. More research has to be done on that nature of it. But I mean, if you get a pile of Tesla coils together, you will start seeing magnetic mists. And Hutchinson has seen them. So I sent him over some of the images, and I said, "Have you seen these?" And he wrote back to me. He said, "Wow, those images are cool, man." And he did, you know, because he was referenced on a talk show saying he's seen these magnetic mists and plasma balls in his labs. You know, I mean, isn't it just so you make a prediction, and I come across his work, and I go, oh yeah, you have a look at Tesla's video, right? He's running his Tesla coils in a Westinghouse video from the 1920s, I think it is. You can see all the bars. I've got 500 videos of bars firing from the floor.
Wow.
From the earth. You know, they divide. Now, I'll tell you a little story of the bars dividing. So this stuff is biological in the way that it looks as well. So we were asked, and this is a strange set of circumstances, we were asked, John and myself, to do some energy work. All the other listeners would recognize it as healing. On a gentleman who lived around the corner from my mother's, it's my mother's gentleman friend. He's 80. He's about 87, I think he is. So my father's died when he was fairly young, and so they go on little trips together and stuff like that. So he asked us. He said he met somebody that's got a bad back, and would you go and do some healing or balancing energy on him? And his partner was a biochemist. And I said, oh, yeah, we do. It's the energy of creation. We're working with the energy of the creation. We don't use spiritual energy, and we don't use the energy of any mind. We don't use any mind energy in it. There's no need to. I mean, because the energy is all around you. All you want is the energy of creation. Why would you want to use some spirit's energy? I mean, it's highly illogical to me. It makes no sense. So you stand on a certain ley line and you can pick the energy up. So anyway, so we were showing her some of the data of the bars divided, and she said, "Do you know what you've got?" And of course, this was back in 2004, 3, something like that. I just nodded to John to see to get the nod, like. And she said, I've seen this before. She said, I've seen this down the microscope. It looks like viruses dividing.
Oh.
So I put a video up on YouTube about the stomatoscope. And the stomatoscope was designed about 40 years ago. What it did is it blended infrared with light frequency passing over a magnetic field, and it saw the orbs in blood. It's because it's in infrared, you can see the orbs. You can see a third force in it, and that third force they named stomatids, or Royal Rife was linked to this the development of this stomatoscope. Now, in the Pranas and the Vedic scriptures, or whether it was the Pranas or the Vedic scriptures, I'm not sure, they talk about the nadis being present in blood, and the nadis was part of the life force, and it's present in blood. If they rebuilt the stomatoscope, you can see, and I put again the biological universe, and I've got those images in it of how orbs have got these holes in them, you know, how they're the same as the ones you see in space, and how they're present in blood, and how they attach to trees. Do you know what I mean? The bars divide. I mean, it is so fundamentally. There are odd parts to this. I mean, have you seen any of the images of the moons and how they've got 3 bands around them, or they've got these hexagons in their surface which aren't impact craters? They're fused orbs. So the physical patterns on the surfaces of the orbs, when they're fused as a moon round a planet, they take up. There's Icarus, Saturn. I think it's one of Saturn's moon. Has got 3 200-kilometer ridges parallel to each other, running around the outsides of it.
Oh, okay.
And they're on the edges of the orbs, because I've got a I'll see if John can post that up onto the chat room. But so I went out and said, yes, let's have a look at it. If the orb can fuse at a small scale, why can't it fuse at a large scale? And of course it does. There's an ancient the divine serpent in myth and legend, and Dr. Robert T. Mason, I think it was his work, and he talks about a serpent traveling across the sky, dropping a cosmic egg, and the moon was formed.
Okay.
So we got the wave, we got with an orb in it, we got the orbs inside the wave. It hits the magnetic field of the Earth. It rips out the surface. the geological samples of these orbs, which are fused, which are called Marky Marbles, some of them are hollow. And of course, they did some seismic experiments on the moon, and it rang like a bell, because it's hollow. As the geological sample I've got cut down, and it's the same as a fugolite. But you know, I'm quoting too much science here. It's pretty damn obvious. You know, these sky stones. It had the geologists bothered to follow them through to the logical conclusion, they would have realised the ball lightning. If you threw up silicate into a ball lightning field, they would fuse to it. It's so simple.
Okay, yeah, I'm following. Yeah, okay. Mm.
You know, if you had a lot of dust, you know, science knows the ball lightning exists, and all you have to do is throw silicate into it, and it will become like glass. But if that ball lightning, so let's say hydrogen now is being released by the planet because of the warming, but it will start to return its cycle. So the thawing of the tundras in certain places are releasing methane or hydrogen into the atmosphere. That hydrogen attaches to the orbs or the bar, and you get fires in the sky. You know, and then you've got fires and brimstone. You know, so stones falling from the sky.
Well, that's what I love. See, you bring this all together, and it just plays right into, because as soon as you said, you know, the hellfire and brimstone, that brings us back to there's what we're taught, you know, the devil, hell, hellfire and brimstone, how all of these sayings that are, you know, in the Bible or sayings that come about, and it's like, it didn't originate there, everybody. You have to go farther back, and you have to get into these myth stories, and you have to get, and the thing is, you're getting into Sumerians. My gosh, some people will go into the Atlanteans. Then we have all of our native tribes. I mean, and if somebody can piece them all together, it shows itself. It's a lot of work. You have to hope, okay, this one's researching the history of this group, and this one's you know, because it would be almost near impossible. And I think what we're seeing, I feel for me anyway, that I feel in the last year that I've gotten back on the internet, because I walked away from it for a few years, that a lot of people did wake up, and a lot of people are digging in to the past and the ancient knowledge, the Hermetics, all of this is coming forward finally. But it's very hard for some people to
But it's a bit like we John and I have asked this question of ourselves and the people that we love. And you know, John's nan, but I don't want to talk about any particular individuals as such. How would they cope when this truth is revealed? You know,
I don't know.
you know, it's like how would my brother cope?
Mhm.
You know, they didn't really ask to be brainwashed. You know, they did.
Right.
You know, they didn't.
And I can relate to that if you have a family member, okay? And, you know, they're not on the same page you are. And that, you know, Paul, that was the one thing, like reading what you sent me, you know, like your biography. And you were kind enough to, you know, share your whole experience, so to speak, from childhood. And I say quickly related, and I'm like, you know, there has to be something said for those of us that knew as early as we obviously did. And if you talk to your brothers or sisters, or you talk to someone who just says, well, that's going over my head, or that's crazy, or, what drugs are you on? And you ask them about their childhood.
Yeah.
I've been called everything in the book, let me tell you, and accused of taking every drug in the world, which I never did.
Do you want to hear
they won't say that they felt different as a child. Because I think when you meet someone that goes, I knew something wasn't right when I was extremely little.
Yeah.
There's your thinker.
Well, I was, I went through the church thing, and and the one thing, they were telling the story of Christ tells the disciples that you can achieve, even you follow in my footsteps, and you can even achieve greater things than me. And even as a little kid, I thought, well, hang on a moment. The only begotten Son of God is telling everybody else that you can achieve, greater things than Him. That doesn't, there's some sort of inconsistency here. And of course, it's just a church. I mean, for me, Christ is a great example of how to live my life.
That's what I say. I'm like, He's the master teacher.
Yeah, for me as a Christian, I carry out the ministry. I mean, I remember one day I was working on a woman with cancer, and I had charge over my body, and I was buzzing all my hands, and my wife came in, and I said to her, don't let the children or the dogs touch me, because I don't know what this charge is. Like a television screen. Mm-hmm. The old is it I don't know what the old television screens were like, but if you run your hand over the surface, you get a charge of static.
Yeah.
Can you remember those? Well, it was like my hands were like that. It was like buzzing. It was like charged, right? So I walked into this one I was doing healing work with, and I shook a hand, and the charge came off me, and I just heard that thing. Who touched me? It's a dissipation of charge, and we use that charge for healing. And so sometimes you'll get like the buzzing, the tinnitus in the ears, right? And there's loads of stories I could tell you about how John first heard the energy of creation, and how that was activating him in a vibrational chamber, in a megalithic vibrational chamber, through the Om.
Yeah.
But there's so much of this now, that I could, how many more of your listeners now are hearing the buzzing because the energy is intensifying on the earth.
Well, everybody talks about the ringing, high-pitched sounds, aching body, the can't sleep, all of these symptoms.
Well,
it's the new energy.
Yep.
You have to figure out how to embrace it.
Yeah, and it will be unsettling. It will be unsettling for people. I mean, what is that?
I went for a long time that I'd be walking, and people probably thought I was drunk.
Yeah.
I would just suddenly start going sideways.
Yeah. Well, it was we used to walk people around a set of megaliths, and we used to wipe energy off them to balance the fields of where the megaliths in the circle stood, and we'd walk them around. John would be at the rear of the circle, and I'd stand at the front edge of the circle, and people would sway back and forth with the magnetic pushes from the stones. Acting on the human field. There was one day when I was in there where I was picked up and thrown nearly 6 foot. It was only the fact that my feet caught the floor that I didn't break my teeth. So these magnetic pushes, and so these are the unseen forces, and people are losing their balance. I had a geologist in my room in work, and she nearly fell over, and she was trying to hang onto the counter.
Yeah.
So
I've had that happen. I'll be like just walking along, and all of a sudden, I'm like, "Whoop, sorry, I'm going to the right here for a moment till I catch myself." And I acknowledge it for what it is. I can't be responsible for what anybody around me, wants to think. I've told everybody how to take a simple wire coat hanger and cut it in half and make their own dowsing rods and prove to themselves just by their thinking they can see their energy fields, meaning what you think, you send it out. When you speak it, you own it. It's kind of like the beginning of the Bible, breath, the word.
That's right.
It's all about this energy.
The thought is the deed.
And when you get, and I'm like, it's very hard to get there. And I understand when you feel, if you're talking and you have that moment where you're thinking, I'm going over someone's head. But I think it's safe to say now more people are getting it. And you know what? If they don't want to believe it or whatever, I've stated on my show, hey, it's an internet radio show. It's like a TV. If you don't like what you're hearing, I'm not going to turn me off then, okay? I don't want to battle with somebody, because a lot of times for Christians right now that are steadfast to just the Bible, they'll want to start, giving you verses out of the Bible. And, a lot of times for me, I'm just like, you can hand me all the verses you want. The difference is can you verbally tell me your experience than what you just copied and pasted?
Yeah. What does it actually mean? What they've, be as wise as a serpent. Hey, hang on a moment. What does that mean? Be as wise. A serpent's wise or what? Or is it the information held in the wave?
I totally relate. That's why I knew I related to you. That's why I was like, you have put this great research together, and that's what I'm looking for when I want to, interview somebody. It's like I'm here. If you're listening to me, and you're, as I say, expanding your thinking, I want to help you. And sometimes I'll say I'm not the best at articulating. If I can find someone who can do it, I want to get them for you. I'm not here to entertain you. I'm not going to tap dance for you. Because I think the time is now, especially, as I say, so much is going on. A lot of people are inundating their brains with all of this, wars, rumors of wars, and then they're, afraid. And I'm like, then you're right where they, in quotations, want you to be, cowered down in fear. You have no idea how powerful you are. Hence, Jesus to me, represents the master teacher. You need to be learning more about him, what he was doing, and everything, those stories, you can do, and probably more.
Yes. I mean, those are exactly what his word said. You know, how many people bothered to cast out demons? You can't be a Christian without casting out demons.
Well, I don't think, people realize that. And I think when people, if they don't realize the truth, they don't realize how much they're being attacked by all that negative energy. It's like you are honing them in.
Well,
you're easy.
That's right. Once you're connected to this energy and you're not connected to the spirit world, when you're connected to the energy of creation and you can use it, there are tremendous things that are seen like magic.
Mm-hmm.
It's not magic. I mean, these are you're just conducting and converting energy. And that's all it is. I mean, I was on a field trip this week, and I went into the shop, and this woman on Broadhaven Beach, I had a coffee, and there were a lot of Buddhas in this chip shop. So I thought, coffee. It was a coffee cum chip shop. It was a very unusual place. And I just said, well, why are all these Buddhas here? And this woman came to me and she said, the owner is a Reiki healer. So she called her out from the front. I said, oh yeah, I work with energy, and I'll read your field now. And then I demonstrated to her. I said, just give me an initial of someone you know who's ill, and I'll read their energy field, and I'll feel the spirals coming out of them, and I'll tell you as best I can in terms of language, because if I said you've got an anti-clockwise spiral coming out of the left ankle, it really won't mean much to anybody. What it means to me is that there is an energy leakage from that point, and indicates some damage in those ankles or legs or whatever. But this lady just couldn't believe that just by the initial of that individual, that I could read that energy field. That to me is nothing, because I'm connected to the energy field. And that person is connected to the energy field. That only doesn't work when people aren't connected to the energy field. So say you've got a person now who's got a tremendous amount of pain, negativity, his ego is stimulated beyond recognition, like the people like Richard Dawkins, I suppose, of that scientist. His ego is way, way, way beyond, and he's very, very he just puts people down, doesn't he? Have you heard of Richard Dawkins?
Doesn't sound familiar. That doesn't mean I didn't come across something and forgot the name.
The God Delusion. He wrote the God Delusion.
Oh, okay.
And God is dead and it doesn't exist or whatever. And and he did some faulty, not very good science. And a lot of people are in the science world are embarrassed by the actual ego of the man. But those kind of people who are developing their intellect, they have great powers of remembering facts and figures, and yet they'll remember everything that they've been taught. But they can never ever take apart and see why they believe it. They can just spout the things that they've taught.
Right.
They can't. And that's what goes on in science. A scenario in science, right? So we say, we laugh in work about it, right? Say, for instance, you wanted to, I'll put the scenario to. Say you wanted to get some funding, or you were looking for funding, or you were trying to do some science about the decline of rare butterflies. And so you can take the decline in butterfly, and you can have a look at what was present in it to cause its death, and work on things. And you can say, oh, right, well, there's a lot of pesticides in these butterflies that have killed them all. So you say, oh, well, and you find trace chemicals, which are developed by Monsanto, and you say the effects of and so you're going to do a publication and research into the effects of Monsanto chemicals on small aphids, butterflies, and whatever. And do you think you'd get any funding for that? Do you think that they would?
No.
But if you changed it to the decline in butterflies due to carbon dioxide in the atmosphere and global warming, you'll have loads of funding.
Well, that's because that's where they want everybody's mind to go.
So where does the truth come into science? We know that pesticides are put on crops to kill aphids, butterflies, caterpillars, and so the moths, butterflies, and caterpillars will decline.
Which they are.
Which they are.
Along with the bees.
And of course it gets concentrated into whether it be fish, or, eating the larvae of insects, or whether it be birds. They get concentrated, and it breaks down the whole system. It kills off nature, and it's like as though they have a hatred of nature. Science, I don't understand what it is, because this place is a wonderful, wonderul place. It's just mankind's separation from nature is the big problem. Thinking that we can, we can cheat it, we can we can't. Dolly the sheep, didn't live very long when they cloned it. Hundreds of them died in the process of it. And what's the point?
Well, that's one, we're still trying to figure out. And for me anymore, I'm just like, that, half of that stuff that goes on with those group of people, for me, in simple terms, I would be like, you know what, it's just evil.
Yeah.
I understand the dark and the light, and I understand there is those of us that, as over time we learn to be the light brighter, and just as much as I believe the dark can go darker, and it just seems that's the huge duality that seems to be going on right now on the planet. Like if we, instead of just kind of being kind of equal and balanced out a little bit, it's being stretched, in both directions. And if this is all about this new coming change, if it's the 2012, it's the going into the age of Aquarius, which for me, I'm like, I believe that it is. That's why I say, I'm like, it's a tapestry. Believe it or not, you can look at a giant tapestry, imagine it's all one thread. It doesn't matter how you're looking at it. It's all connected in the end.
Well,
I cannot believe we've flown by, Paul, and I want to make sure before we leave, and now I feel sad because we didn't get to do the remote viewing. That's why I'm like, I hope I can get you to return sometime. Right, I know you're on a break from university. I do have a 2-hour show now on Thursdays that starts at the same time. I'm sorry. On Thursdays it would start at 1 p.m. Eastern time, but it runs for 2 hours. So I hope I can get you to come back. But we can still talk a little bit, but I want to make sure people have asked a couple times while we've been talking. You mentioned a book. They'd like to know the name of the book. I think someone must have looked it up and put in a link. Is it an e-book now? And,
it's...
So let's give them all that information.
It's pretty old and dated. There are two mistakes after the period. One is in addition... in the dedication that I put, because I put it to my Father, the creator of everything and everywhere, and of course it's I think that the create the Father, and I actually wrote it in the appendices in the back. God is neither male or female; it is in everything. So that it'll appear wrong thinking as the dedication, and the other one was I still hold sympathy for. I mentioned about Al Gore's mainly because he had some wonderful quotes from The Inconvenient Truth, but unfortunately that's an inconvenient lie, and I still hold a sympathy for him, but not for the same reasons. He's obviously been selling and misguiding and manipulating data. The hockey stick effect in his graphs that he was showing doesn't take into account the medieval warm period, which is warmer than it has been over the last 10 years. So there are two errors. I hadn't really at the time of about 2006 looked at much science. I was analysing data, and of course I wrote at the end of the book I wanted to take this and give this to science so that it could start analysing my results. But of course I had to really go at it myself, because everybody is attached to the to their indoctrination, basically, of what they've learned. So that's the book, and it's about the study and how the processes we put together.
Is there a website, though, associated with the book?
It's on Lulu. You can get it on lulu.com. It's called Orbs, Energy and Myths, The Secrets of the Ancients. I have a YouTube account where I've been trying to share and trying to deliver the understandings of what I've seen. Some of that is how energy reacts and enters the body. Some of those that are about the Mayan calendar and the increasing magnetic field. Some, there are various videos of trying to deliver the data in useful ways, so that people can relate to it. And I'm on Facebook as well, so you can, if anybody wants to contact me or speak to me, I'm pretty okay. Obviously fairly busy, but I do try to respond to everyone, because I think this is important. I think what I discovered was important. Not important for me to make money. I think it's important that the people. I don't want people believing that when they see these spheres and bars burning in the sky, they're UFOs. I mean, we've been sold that from the very. I mean, we've been sold of it by Dr. Sitchen Greer and the Disclosure Project. We've been sold it by Zachariah Sitchin. We've been sold it by the Illuminati. I forget his name now. He's always on about the Anunnaki. He was a friend of Zachariah Sitchin's. They do their Illuminati handshake, or Freemasonic handshake, and we've been lied to.
Right.
And so someone's got to try and balance the truth. I couldn't care if I don't sell a book. And what I don't want is...
and it's really coming out more because, you've had a little bit of a break, and I don't know how much, you follow YouTube, but, oh my gosh, every time you turn around, a new video is coming out about UFOs, and I'm not saying, well, maybe it is, and I think, and I feel we're going to start seeing more meteors in the sky as to where I believe we are positioned right now. We are in a debris field.
Yeah.
And I said, and don't be surprised if you start seeing more satellites falling out of the sky.
Yeah. So, as the you see I think it was Jeffrey Stray's work, and he talks about heaven chi meeting earth chi. So you're talking about the descending magnetic fields from our Van Allen belts meeting the earth, and when they meet, we will see the gods, and the gods are the creative force, the Orbs wave. So as this magnetic field descends, this magnetic field will also cause satellites to fall out of the sky. As it's descending and strengthening, it's going to change that orbit position. And as the Earth's magnetic field starts to increase, they will meet each other and touch. And once again, we will see the gods. But we're not talking about people in flying rocket cycles and stuff like that. There are peculiarly odd things about the research. So I don't, but basically, the Orb wave is the energy of creation. It holds consciousness. It carries the soul back to the light in the tunnel. And the tunnel has the rings round the outside of it, as I quoted in the book, from a near-death experience of a girl called Teresa. She went feet first down the tunnel with the rings round it. That's the bar or the tube with the rings round it. In fact, we got a photograph of what I believe to be the process of ascension of the soul.
Oh, and I'll tell you, Paul, you're giving us like teasers, and we're down to the last 2 minutes because I have to allow the next host to call in and get going. Oh my gosh, you are going to have to come back. Yeah. If for some reason you still have the Friday. I still have the 11th and the 18th and the 25th. If you'd let me know as soon as possible that you'd want to come back and do it again, let me know. We'll schedule it up because I have a request to try to get a round table going. But I tell you, we'd love to have you come back and give us more. And it's. I'd love to. I mean, I didn't talk about the photograph my daughter took when I was dying and my life force was leaving my body. I know, and that's what I'm saying. We missed stuff.
We didn't.
And I knew it. I was like 3 hours. You'll see, it's going to fly by, and we're going to have to do it again. Most definitely. I think we've gotten a great response. This conversation, I'm sure you're going to see it traveling around probably on YouTube because I'll ask a friend of mine to upload it, and it'll be on my channel, and so it'll go around. So don't be surprised if you start getting requests to do shows.
Yeah.
Thank you. I just got my 90 seconds throwing me off of here. Paul, thank you so much. And please, I hope we do it again soon.
Yeah. Well, that's a definite. It's obviously... Thank you. Yeah.
All right. I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah. Good night,
thanks,
everybody.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, everyone. Talk to you later. Bye.